Good morning, everyone. I hope that you can hear me. I'm in a different location. So today's learning, as every day, is dedicated in honor and memory of those whose Yortzeit falls today, as well as all those that we are saying Kaddish for during the course of the year. We're up to we're in chapter 1, Mishnah 5, Mishnah Hay, of Pirkei Avos, Ethics of the Fathers. So far, what we've been discussing, as we mentioned about the Torah being given at Sinai, and then we mentioned about having an open home, which would be a welcoming and appropriate place for Talmidei Chachamim, for great sages, to be able to dwell, to be able to hold meetings, to come, to be, they would feel comfortable in our home with a home of Torah values. Let's move on to the next Mishnah. So the Mishnah says, Yossi ben Yochanan, Ishu Shleim Omer. So Yossi, the son of Yochanan, this is the other pair that we're discussing, previously. Yeh beischa pasuach lirvocha, that your home should be open wide. V'yu aniyim b'nei beisecha, that poor people should be members of your household. We'll go on to the rest of the Mishnah another time because we're short of time today. So what exactly does that mean? So we already mentioned that you should have an open home in terms of welcoming great sages, venerable individuals of our people, guests, scholars and residents and the like. But now we're going a stage further. A person may have learnt from the previous Mishnah, yeah, I have to have an open home, but it's to people of distinction, people of prestige, people of significance. But what we're learning in this Mishnah is that, like Abraham who went before us, Avraham Avinu, every single Jew should be welcomed into our home, even those that we don't feel comfortable or we don't, very often people come to our door and they ask us for, they're collecting for some cause. And it could be they've come from Israel, they've come from other places. What's our initial response? Our initial response, if we're really honest, is that, at best, we give them a few pounds and say to them, wishing you good luck. At worst, we become rather frustrated that, when we got to the door, that's who it was because it took us away. But one thing is for sure, and I'm speaking honestly about most of us, myself included, we just want to, in a way, get rid of them, wish them well so that we can get on with our lives. Don't cross my threshold. Don't invade my privacy. An Englishman's home is his castle. I'm busy. I've got an order. I've got a routine. I've got, stuff to be getting on with, which is very important. And I can't have you, invade my space. That's generally the way that we feel. And yet we see in this Mishnah, the Mishnah tells us quite the opposite. This discussion I saw in the Rabbeinu Yonah. Does that mean that you should have? What does an open home mean? Does it mean that your home is a place that's welcoming, or does it mean that it's, rather than being remote and cut off, that it's open and that it's accessible, it's easy to reach? Very often you go to people and they've got these big gates, wrought iron gates. It's like a fortress. God forbid anybody should try to enter this person's home who is not familiar with, or is not one of his friends and family. So what we see is that it's a home should not be just with a mezuzah on the door, but it should be absorbed. Every fiber of that building, every beam in that house should be filled with the values of our people, of our faith. And you may think that it's quite far-fetched, to accept or to welcome in people, to sit down with them, to have them as your guests, people that you don't know. So often, actually, even in our own community, it comes to Shabbos and we've got guests that come. They may be visiting family, they may be visiting people in the hospice, and it's a real difficulty and challenge to be able to get people to have them for a meal, to be able to welcome them, and I get it. It's not easy when we don't know people and they're strangers, but that's precisely the challenge and the opportunity. That's true haknasat orchim, true hospitality. You may think that this is a lofty concept and it's far removed from us, but I see it every single week when I take my kids to school. If you go to the drive in Golders Green on Friday, you'll see Reich, the well-known, generous, wonderful caterer, Jewish caterer, and he has, it looks like there's a wedding taking place in his home, and he has all the food delivered. Yeah. Okay. So he makes the food in his shop or wherever. But the point is, his home, and part of his home is devoted completely to having guests every single Shabbos. The down and outs, the stragglers, those that he doesn't know any of them. They've come from Israel. They're poor. They may not smell. They may not look particularly. They may not be well kempt. I've seen it myself. And yet, every single week, like Abraham, he's literally waiting for guests, and he hosts them every single week with generosity, with alacrity, with a smile on his face. That is something that we should aspire to, and that's what this Mishnah is referring to. More than that, I'll tell you an amusing story. Let me just say good morning to everyone. Apologies, it's not straight. I'm trying to balance it. Michael, lovely to see you. Hope you're refueled after we met in the petrol station. Peter, Rachel, Deborah, good morning. Caroline, good morning. Clarice, Estelle, and all those that are joining us live today. So there's a man called Jackie Levinson. Jackie Levinson lives in Stamford Hill. And it's well known that his house is literally, it's halfway house. Literally, people stay there, people come, and he puts them up for weeks and even in some cases months on end. So anyway, some of the people there are very comfortable, very Hamish, because they've been coming there so long. So there was around the table, there were all these mushalochim, all these collectors and fundraisers that had come from Israel, and they're digging in, all having, and they don't even know who the host is. You know, he just sits down and doesn't make any song and dance. Anyways, so they're having a conversation, and each of them are discussing how long they've been going there. One says, oh, this is my second week coming here. The other one said, oh, I've come here every year. Anyways, so they asked Jackie Levinson, who's the owner of the house, the host, and they don't realize who it is. And they said to him, how long have you been coming here? He says, oh, okay, I've been coming here for the last 40 years. So one of the guy sitting next to him, who's been coming there for the last 5 or 6 years, he says to him, oh, that's a chutzpah to come for 40 years. That's a chutzpah. He felt so at home. So the answer is that the approach that we have to have is to look, is to not look at the outside. And it's challenging, it's difficult, friends. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's the opportunity to be able to open our homes and open our lives. And if we can't open our doors and we find it difficult to host people, so sometimes it's just creating space in our lives for people to share. That's what hospitality really is. It's sharing, isn't it? And that's what the Mishnah is talking about, that we should open our hearts, open our homes to listen and to allow people into our lives. In other words, people have problems, people want to discuss something, rather than just say, are you okay? And just brush them off and move on because there's more important things or people for us to talk to. Make space, make time, make that phone call, befriend somebody, help somebody, offer them to do shopping, allow them to share, to offload their problems. And you're not going to feel worse. In the long term, you're going to feel better, bigger, rather than the other way, which is people that go out into the world at large and they feel that they're bigger by having, buildings dedicated and their names and plaques and everyone making a fuss. By making space in our lives, in our homes, whatever the homes that we have, whatever lives we have, we will become bigger and more enriched and fulfilled as a result. Please God, we should all be able to live up to this lofty mission, and in that way bring joy, light, and happiness to all of those that need it in our lives and beyond. Amen. Lovely to see you. Please God, tomorrow is at 8:50. Remember, Thursday is 8:50. Good morning, David. Good morning, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Be well.